Now we come to a little tram car that most people have never seen. No matter where you've travelled around the world, unless you've been to Balmain in Sydney's west, you will never have seen its equal. Well, this little car operated the Balmain Counterweight system, which allowed the trams to safely descend the steep grade at Darling Street down to the wharf on Darling Harbour. The tram ran from 1902 until 1955 without a hiccup. It was a very, very successful scheme. The amazing thing is that nobody else in the world ever bothered to use this principle. Very briefly, to the layman, this is how it worked. The tram would approach the dummy, which was parked on the tram line at the top of the hill, and would push the dummy down the hill. Now, this dummy was attached by means of a shaft and a cable to a counterweight under the roadway running parallel to the tram. As the tram would propel the dummy down the hill, it would in turn pull the counterweight up the hill, so that when the brakes were taken off the tram down the bottom, the counterweight would help to propel the tram up the grade. Once the tram reached the top of the grade, it would then continue on its way and the dummy would just come to a gentle stand. Now, the counterbalance under the roadway was loaded with steel weights, and these weights were roughly equal to the unladed weight of the type of tram car using the line. Now, this dictated that only certain types of tram cars could use the line, and over the years there were three major types. The opening scene is the F car proceeding down the hill on one of its trial runs, pushing the dummy in the colour scheme and the manner in which we have demonstrated to you here. The second one is the N-class car, which were the second lot to use it, and that is seen during the 1930s or 1920s, 30s period, propelling the dummy down the hill. And the final scene is the corridor cars, which were introduced on that line from 1934 onwards. They were used exclusively until the system closed in 55. The line actually ran from Canterbury Station to Darling Street Wharf. That was the particular route that used this system. Now we'll have a little look at the inside of the car and a little bit of an explanation about its construction. The body of the dummy was nothing more than an elaborate toolbox which was protected by two large steel sliding doors. These doors were normally kept closed, and the workmen simply kept their tools inside, and that kept them away from prying eyes. Now, the reason for the body on it, this pyramid-shaped body, was purely and simply to stop kiddies or anyone else for that matter from riding on it, because all you really needed was this frame and the four wheels to connect the buffer to the mechanism under the roadway. Now, these wheels, or this little frame, was originally off a cable trailer. So, as you'll notice by the year of construction, 1902, by then the North Sydney cable cars were redundant, and some of this equipment was used on them. So that's an old cable trailer truck. Once again, we have a grill, this time a fixed one, to stop people from falling under, and the buffers, of course, to allow it to come to a smooth rest down the bottom. Now, this piece up here on the top originally had a large lamp situated in it, an oil lamp, because the streets of Balmain did not receive electricity until 1910, and therefore, of course, you couldn't have this thing sitting in the middle of a pitch dark roadway, so overnight it would have a kerosene lamp. Once the electricity came to the area, the lamp was removed. So most of the photographs that you will see in any books that you may buy or souvenir items, it will not have that on the top, because it covers this latter period in life. Incidentally, if we open up the toolbox once again, inside here is a large cylinder. Of a day, the lamp would be lowered down, the lid lifted off, and the lamp would be put in here for safekeeping, so the man could put the kerosene in and trim the wick. Alternatively, for night, he would light it and pull it up on a cable into its position up the top. So that's basically all this little unit consists of, and this sat in the middle of the roadway, quite harm-free all those years. About the only interesting. Now, the only funny thing that happened to this in its life, that I know of anyhow, happened during the war, when we had a few American servicemen slightly inebriated from the local hotel who figured they could push it down the road with their Jeep. Well, the story goes that they got it about 20 yards down when the Jeep began to slip, and the momentum of the counterweight gave it quite a large push, and the Jeep was seen shooting off in the direction of Rozelle Junction with some alarmed drivers on board. Apart from that, I don't know of any humorous aspect. I guess over the years many people have scaled a ride on it, but certainly it never had any major hiccup during its entire life.